Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with Larry. I'll introduce Larry as Elvis here in just a second. First, I remember we're brought to you by Germstar. So in this world where we need the hand sanitizer, go to First Clean Solutions. And this is the best, like I'm not kidding, the best hand sanitizer. It smells good. Super disinfecting. You wear this and you're guaranteed you're not going to get COVID. That's a joke. So how about it, Larry? You need some Germstar?
Yes, I would love some Germstar. Is that part of the deal? Like if I do your show, I get Germstar,
Yeah, well,
or
you get a
just
10% shot.
or do I just get germs?
You just get germs. So how
Okay,
have you been,
cool.
man? I haven't seen you in person in years, probably. And so I want to remind everybody we have a sponsor now. So thank you for sharing. If you don't mind, share this interview. And Larry, it's so good to see you, man. It's been too long. And what have you been up
I
to?
know. Oh, Dale, I'm about normal 6'1", I would guess. How about yourself?
The same. Okay.
All right. Now that we got that stupid joke out of the way.
Yeah.
No, man, everything's good. I say that, but I've had my challenges, and but right now everything's really great. I'm grateful for my health and my family, and we just got together. I'm up here in Utah right now, up in the St. George area, and we got the whole family together. It was amazing. Like that's hard to do, especially now that everybody's spread out. But that was one of the, I guess, the nice things that happened here with this COVID, 19 thing. It's like it wouldn't have happened. We all wouldn't be together for this 4th of July weekend that we just had. So it was awesome. We got some good family pictures to kind of prove it, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling, with how busy life is and how people come in and out of the country or doing this or that, it's going to be a long time before we all are together. And it was just really one day. Dustin even drove up with his family and the baby. And as you know, Dustin's now a dad.
Yeah.
I
Good for
mean,
him, man.
it's crazy. It really hits home for me because I still don't have any children of my own that I know about anyway. But
So if you have any of Larry's children, please call in and we'll put you on live right now.
call
Confront him
in
live.
and
We're doing an episode of like Maury,
we'll raise money. We're gonna raise money for my kids I don't know about's college.
Yeah, it's a GoFundMe. So anyway, if you're joining us now, we're here with Larry Bagby, who you may know from Hocus Pocus. He was Ice that had ice shaved in the back of his head way back in the day. We'll talk about that. Then he was Buffy, if you're a Buffy and the Vampire Slayer fan, and also perhaps most well known for as Marshall Grant in the Oscar-winning movie Walk the Line. And we'll certainly get to those stories because I was around on that set. So we're going to be talking all about Walk the Line and Reese and Joaquin and that whole, and Larry, man, I'm super excited to revisit those days. So Larry, thanks again, man. And I always like to start these, and I know the answer to this one, but do you remember how and when we first met?
Of course.
Not the bathhouse. This is after that. The real story.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't the Blue Oyster.
No, not in a Police Academy movie.
So yeah, of course. If I'm not mistaken, it was Jag.
Yeah.
Right? You and I were both. We were both like, what were we? You were a prison guard or something.
No, we were both. Let me refresh your memory because I went back and researched this. It's a classic Jag episode. CBS longtime show.
Montel Williams.
Yeah, Montel Williams was the guest star, and me and Larry were racist fellers. I think it was set in like West Virginia or somewhere in the dirty South, and me and Larry were part of some sort of militia that caught a black man on our land. And so, of course, what they do is they kidnapped him and kept him hostage in the barn. And the JAG attorneys had to come have a trial and get him released. So Larry and I were responsible for keeping Montel Williams in our barn. So, and I remember I had long hair at the time, and
Dude, you were intimidating. Like you kind of like made me a little nervous because you were also like kind of like pretty big, right? Like you're
Yeah,
250 or 240.
yeah. That was back in
And
my
that's about where I'm at now. So it feels
yeah.
good. Kind of. If you're not worried about your heart or any of that. But yeah, you were pretty gruff, man, but we hit it off. I remember we had a lot to talk about. It was cool. It was like I just felt like I knew you all my life, and I was glad. That was a weird. Remember you got busted because you left, and remember, and I had to cover for you, but you're like, I'm done, man. I don't want to be here anymore.
No,
And then
no,
you just like because you had to go back to
I
Texas.
had a flight
right?
to Texas already booked, and they extended our days because we were shooting overnight. If you remember,
That's right.
our call
yeah.
time was like 10 o'clock at night, and I told them I had to wrap. I was going back to Texas, and that guy who came to be known as Brace Face for the first 8 days because he had this mouthful of braces, and
he was so annoying too.
he blackballed me. He said, "I'll never work in Hollywood again if I don't come back," and I
I think
left, and I did
you
work.
you did work again. I don't
I
think
did
he
work
ever
again.
did.
Yeah, it was mostly porn, but I did work again. So stuff
Soft.
out
It
your
was
face.
soft.
Yeah.
That was the next time we happened to meet. Kind of surprise. Well, it turns out these some of the network shows aren't going so well, so we're gonna do a little side gig.
Now that was great because initially I remember you standing over there, and the first night we didn't really chat, and then the next night you brought your guitar, and so all the girls are over there hanging out with the guy with the guitar. And so I'm like, oh, I got to go talk to this guy now because they're not over here. So I had to go buddy up with Larry Bagby because he had the guitar and all the girls over there. And
did I really? I brought
you
a
did.
guitar.
You weren't in your trailer. You were on
It's so unusual. It is so unusual. I don't. This is a mini guitar. It's a lot easier to travel with because I can do like this, like just be like, hey, what's going on, and then just all of a
It's
sudden
like a ukulele or something.
Yeah, Dustin got me this. It's a little get laley, they call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, so then we
you invited me to your wedding. We hit it off so much. You were getting married like a few weeks later, and you're like, you should be in my wedding. I'm like, you should not do it. Like you're too young. Because I was divorced, and I said, I mean, and Jenny, who we're both still friends with. I mean,
yeah,
great
she's
girl,
an amazing woman. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was that was like 1999 or 98 or 99, way back in the day. And I remember you because you actually had the job of tying up Montel to the chair, and he got it was like 4 a.m, and you were like choking him out, and he got mad and started yelling at you. You and Montel almost got into a fight at 4 a.m. So that was good times. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, was Ernie Lively in that episode as well?
No,
because
I don't think
there was a court scene or something. I thought he was one of the Southern.
Well, I didn't know him then. It's possible.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I had just met you. And we'll circle.
I think he might have been, but we'll look back and see if he was. Yeah, and that's a funny connection, right?
Well, yeah, Larry and I did a movie a couple years later, which we'll get to, and we ran into Ernie again. So, and also Ernie's daughter, who you may have heard of, and we'll get to this too. When I had moved, she helped me move. Helped because of you, helped me move into my apartment. Who she was about 12 years old at the time. Blake Lively, Ernie's daughter. Yeah.
Was she helping?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, because Bart came over, who's married to or was engaged to Robin Lively, who in the 80s was she Teen Witch? That was her big movie back in the day.
Yeah, Teen Witch, and she was on Savannah. She still continues to work quite a bit.
Yeah,
so
yeah, great couple, her and Bart, and the whole Johnson clan. But no, I remember
Bart didn't want you to move in when I got married.
Yeah,
and because he's like you can't just move out. I'm like, dude, I'm getting married. Like this is my friend Dale. He needs a place. He wants to rent my place. No, we got to pick and choose who we got. I'm like, but you guys became friends.
Obviously. Yeah, we did.
He got it eventually, but
yeah. So Jag, can you believe that's been over 20 years ago?
That's just crazy, man. But I still remember that. That was the beginning of a good time for all of us, man. Just
Hmm. And for those of you turning in, like Larry's been one of my closest friends for 20 years, and so we've done a lot of stuff together and traveled the world. We're going to be dropping some names probably and some good stories. So hang around and
yeah.
like
So put on your steel boots because we're gonna be dropping.
It's going to be deep. It's going to be deep. And okay, so let's circle back to because you're from Thousand Oaks, which is just north of Los Angeles. So you kind of grew up in the area. How did you get involved in the business?
So my folks had gone to a career day at our church, and they were just, like they do at school sometimes. There were different occupations and little booths for us and whoever. I wasn't there that day, but they noticed there was this Hollywood film school, which was doing, they were trying to recruit to get people to come and basically pay to take acting classes and get headshots. But it was legit. It wasn't like one of these JD
Right.
like, modeling agencies that make you pay $5,000 or whatever. I was always interested in acting. So I went down and did a little screen test, which was basically, a VHS hit record and read a monologue, Jello monologue or something. That was when Bill Cosby was not yet the Bill Cosby we know today. The Jello pudding pops. But so that was it. And I went down there. All of my siblings went, and all of us got involved. But I really stuck with it. And the guy that was teaching the classes liked me, and he was a manager. His name, I kid you not, and we'll leave it at this, was Dick Woody. I kid you not. And so he became my manager, and he was awesome. He believed in me very young. And then I went on a few auditions, and I booked it was my fourth audition. I booked that Invasion Earth, which is where I met Christian.
So our mutual friend Christian, who will come up later. Okay, so you met Christian on this movie.
Yeah, which was the only reason why I think I should have done the movie. It was pretty bad. It's a sci-fi movie, but they didn't do it justice. It could have been cool. But that was it, man. I caught the bug early on, to get paid. We got to hang out. We shot most of it in San Pedro at like this old theater, and got to eat all this great food. And I got paid to act. I was like, this is great.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 12.
Okay. So little baby Bagby, Larry Bagby. Okay.
That's in dog years.
Oh yeah. Okay. So he was 47.
Yeah, I was all right. I was a baby Bagby for sure. But that was the beginning, man. And then things started picking up. I eventually got a different manager. I got an agent. I think I might have even met Iris Burton, who was Joaquin's agent as a child, and he kept her through all these years.
Really?
And just because she was so great
Really?
for him. And so he would, like, when we were doing Walk the Line, he went and bought her like groceries one time. I was like, that's so sweet. And it's like, yeah, I mean, he had his good qualities for sure.
Now Joaquin, we're going to have a whole chapter on Joaquin later. He's a very complicated man. Well, but we'll get back to Joaquin when we get to Walk the Line. So you're working, you got a movie under belt. So clearly you had some talent, and where did you get the confidence to make you think, or did you even think about it? Were you too young to even consider that? You're just like, oh, I want to be on TV. I want to be in movies.
It's a good question. I think it's just having great, family support. Like my mom and dad just always cheered me on and, made me feel like I was really good, even probably when I wasn't. I mean, I think I had a natural ability for sure. Like I lit up in front of the camera or when I was on stage. And my dad was in a band, and that helped him get through college and stuff. So I had opportunities to jump up on stage all the time. So I got real comfortable with that. And then I just did some plays and this and that, but I think it was not only their encouragement and their excitement for me in it. But then once I started booking roles and, realizing that there was quite a bit of competition, and I would work. I would continue to work. And so that kind of builds your confidence, each show. But then when things are slow, like it has been, or there's been times where it just gets dry, and you got to keep creative, which is why the music has been such a saving grace for me, because it's something I can do that I feel like I'm still creating, and I can keep doing it even when there's not work available.
Yeah. And you are one of the people, I mean, since I've known you, I mean, you haven't had any like side jobs, like you've made your living as an actor or playing music, like you've been an artist, which is not easy to do, especially times like this during the when nothing's working during this COVID lockdown. Nothing's been shooting for the last 4 months. So obviously you're not working now, but I mean, that's quite an accomplishment being able to say that. You've never waited tables, or maybe when you're a teenager.
I did, and I did it even just before and just after I got married with Jenny. But those jobs lasted like 2 weeks.
You did what?
They only lasted like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, I love you, but I can't imagine
Oh man, I was an awful waiter. I was a lot of fun, but I always blamed the kitchen. I'm like, oh, sorry, they messed up.
Yeah, I don't think
one time I quit Johnny Rockets. I worked with the little hat, the Johnny Rockets, because it was a diner, and I like diners and Elvis and jukeboxes. And I got mad because I messed up somebody's hamburger, and I had already been in Hocus Pocus and a bunch of TV shows, so I just quit right on the spot. I'm like, I'm done. I was in Hocus Pocus. I threw my hat down and I left that damn place. Never looked back.
Have you been banned from Johnny Rockets? And
I think they actually they closed the whole place. I don't think there's any left.
Didn't you don't, and this goes, I may have this wrong, but didn't you, when you met your ex-wife Jenny, who you're still good friends with, she was a waitress and you asked her out in some weird way? What was that all about?
She worked at a restaurant that we used to go to, remember Dalt's.
Yeah.
And I just had gone in there with my cousin, I think, and my brother, and she was just gorgeous. I mean, she looks like a movie star, she or soap opera actress or something. And I couldn't stop, staring at her. She wasn't even our waitress, but I asked her to come over. I don't know what I said, but I just basically told her she's beautiful. I'd love to take her out sometime, and that was it. So we just hit it off, and she was great. And I think she was also looking for a little peace of mind. She's from a small town in Florida and came to LA in hopes to be an actress.
Oh. I was thinking you had stood on the table and she made you do like an Elvis or something. I don't. Maybe
no.
Anyway,
you might be right. I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't do something.
So, and it's something else that's interesting about you. And this was before I met you. You're Mormon, and you went on your mission to South America somewhere for 2 years. And we'll come back and talk about Hocus Pocus, but you did Hocus Pocus, which is a huge Disney film, and then it was time for your mission, and you went away for a couple of years. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so in the Mormon Church, that's something that's common for the youth, around age 21, which is that time where most kids are just starting to drink and party, right? Go on a mission, and they go and they preach the gospel, about the Bible and the Book of Mormon. And it was something I always, I grew up in the church, so I always wanted to go on a mission. It was just kind of like what people do. And when the time came, a lot of people like, around that time are having a hard time finding work, and and they have to try to earn money for their missions. The church will sometimes help, but usually families donate if they don't have enough money themselves. And my deal was I had booked this biggest movie to date, and it was hard for me to go at age. Let's see, I'm sorry. So it wouldn't. I think it's 19 that they normally.
Which is you're starting your Hollywood prime at that age. Hollywood
Right.
loves youth, and you're coming off this huge Disney movie, Hocus Pocus, and then you take off for 2 years to do your mission.
Yeah.
So that's pretty heady decision at that age.
Yeah, and it was hard because I left. I did leave that's what it was. I left when I was 20, so I waited an extra year. I wanted to go see the movie when it came out, and then I spent a little time trying to get some more work, and things were happening, but I knew I needed to go. For whatever reason, it was a personal, I needed to know for myself, so I prayed about it, and I got the right feeling, and I went. But it was so hard. Like the first 6 months, I kid you not, of my mission, I wanted to come home every day. It was like so hard. Not what I had in mind. I'm living in like some, somewhat third world country. No, dirt roads, no carpet, small place, hot. And I'm trying to learn this new language and teach the gospel in another language. And it was miserable because here I was, this like Hollywood, everybody praising me. Like I literally halfway through my mission, the movie came out in Argentina, and I popped my head in just to hear like some of our scenes, and it was all translated into Spanish.
Sure.
Some other voice. I'm like, I could have done my own translation, but it was with all of that, it was great. And once I let go of my selfish needs and I started to get a handle on the language, I had some cooler, like we have companions through each, that we get transferred every 4 or 6 months. And I met some guys that were more like me, and we had a great time. We made it work and had a lot of success. And I think I grew a lot, going out and being away from your family and having to be a man and be in another country and be on a schedule. It was like, I didn't like school. So the regiment was difficult for me, just the routine, but I managed. So, and I got back in so many great things, I was able to pick right back up, and I knew that it was, a blessing that I did what I did.
And you still speak fluent Spanish, or pretty fluent, don't you, that you learned down there?
Lo siento, ¿cómo?
I don't, so you're gonna
Pup and taco, Yoko Ono.
Buenos nachos.
Buenos nachos.
Yeah, buenos nachos.
Yeah, I do speak. I don't speak as often as I should, but I still understand it, and I can still communicate.
Yeah, it came in handy when we were in Cabo, but we'll get to that.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it freaked us all out when you just started jabbering in Spanish, and we just looked at each other like, "Who is this guy?"
And then the next thing you know, you guys are getting arrested.
Yeah. Oh, well, hopefully we'll have time for Cabo, because that's a whole interview in and of itself. So Hocus Pocus, what was it? I'm always interested to hear the audition stories, going back for that. Did you have to go back 2 times, 5 times? And did you know at the time it was going to be a huge Disney movie? Because sometimes you don't.
Right. Yeah, like with Walk the Line, I did not know what that was. Like it just, I didn't know it was like, I thought maybe it was a TV movie. I didn't know that Joaquin and Reese and all these other people were involved. T-Bone Burnett. But with Hocus Pocus, I do remember being like, this is huge, because I knew right away who was attached. Bette Midler, that was a huge time for her. Kathy Najimy, I had seen in Sister Act, and she was funny. I just thought she was great. And then of course I was in love with Sarah Jessica Parker, because my sisters grew up. I think my sister watched Square Pegs TV show she was on, And then they were like obsessed with Girls Just Want to Have Fun. So we watched that a million times. I had no choice. And it's true. Girls just want to have fun. But yeah, so I kind of knew there was some pressure with that. But I felt so prepared because I just come out of high school, basically, and the last musical I did was Grease. And the role they cast me as was basically Ice. It was Sonny. Remember Sonny, who's the kind of like, bully, loudmouth, curly-haired comic relief in Grease.
Yeah.
And I know you just recently met John Travolta.
John Travolta. Right? I did.
That's so cool. I've forgotten. I have met him, and it was at that Walk the Line backyard party that I told you everybody, Winona Ryder, like Tobey Maguire.
Oh, John I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, remember that party I told you about? That was like Ringo Starr was there. Like this party was the ultimate. I wish I could paint, and I wish I took more pictures because the circles. It was like, it's unbelievable. But my point is, I had been pretty prepared. I felt, and I used those things I had worked on in that character, including the classic that laugh, which Ice is all that. So I just took that character I got to work on for, I don't know, 4 or 6 months. And I just translated into, I'm going to use this same role I just did, and I'm going to play it. And so I went into the room, and I felt like I really knocked it out of the park. It felt good. And then I didn't hear anything for like 2.5 weeks, maybe even 3. Mm-hmm. I thought, guess we're not moving forward. Then I got a call, and they said, we want you to come back in. And this time we're going to team you up with the other guy that we think might be the right guy. And that was Tobias, who was perfect. And Tobias and I kind of started practicing outside the room, and then it was magic. And then we went in, and I think Tobias was telling me, I don't remember this, just like you said, I stood up on the table and sang Elvis. I'm not surprised. He said I came into that room and did a headstand. I came in and just did a headstand, and I came out of it, and he's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
Wow.
So, but we nailed it, and then it took, I think, another week or so to hear. But when I got that call, I remember I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be the big break that you talk about or think about. Just to be on a big movie like that, it was like, and I had no idea. And the first time that I had traveled to do a film, and
where did they shoot that?
First class and everything. We shot our first scenes in Salem, Massachusetts, where the actual witch trials were held. So it was cool because it was fall in Boston, and it was just gorgeous. So that scene in the graveyard, that's an actual graveyard where those witches have been buried.
I seriously haven't seen it, but
are you serious?
I've never. I've seen, like, I know who
you
are.
Are you afraid? You're afraid of?
I'm afraid of
Halloween
witches.
movies.
I'm afraid of witches and clowns. And people. No, I just haven't seen it. I'm not a big, Disney film guy. There's a lot I haven't seen, but I do know it's iconic. Every Halloween, I mean, people to this day are still having Hocus Pocus parties, and new generations are seeing it, and it's still a favorite. There's no way you could have predicted it was still going to be such an iconic movie 30 years later, 25 years later.
Yeah, it blows us away, and it just seems to get kind of bigger with, thanks to the internet. It's really like, I remember about 5 or 6 years ago when it was like the most talked about thing on Twitter around Halloween. And I was like, are you kidding me? So we were all kind of surprised, but then that's when everybody started doing, they started pulling together the reunions and the panels. Mm-hmm. And then the last 2 years we did the big freeform events, which have been very cool. And apparently the 25th anniversary thing we did was the most watched show ever for freeform. So that was kind of pretty cool.
It's nice to get residual checks from work he did 25 years ago.
Exactly. It affords me the luxuries of small guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice. That's part of the great thing about working in the business is the residual income.
You know who created residuals? Ronald Reagan, when he was the head of the Screen Actors Guild.
I love Ronald.
In the early 70s.
You and I love Ronnie.
You know,
man.
all those kids, like the Brady Bunch kids and the Gilligan's Island actors, zero to this day. Can you imagine? That? Nothing.
It seems like they would have at least turned around and been like, here, thank you.
I just was having this conversation with a friend of mine, like, how can you not just throw those guys? But they don't. There's so much greed. Those producers haven't shared a penny. It's just gross. But thank God for residuals. It's how we're all staying afloat right now.
Thank God for Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He was president of the Screen Actors
Guild. You and we love Reagan, man. Remember where I live right now is where the Reagan Library is.
I know. I went to his funeral. I had a military escort, VIP, the whole deal.
Cool. I didn't know that.
I did. I was there overnight. Got a thank you card from Nancy, the whole deal.
Wow.
I told you we were going to be dropping some names, but I didn't know we were going to go presidential. Didn't know we were going to go presidential. I also played golf with George W. Bush way back in the day before he was even governor in Texas. Didn't even know he was going to be governor. Did not know he was going to be president. Not a great golfer. I'll leave it at that.
Not articulate sometimes.
He's a Texan, so I keep it nice. But yeah, I would have challenged him to an IQ test at the time. Not kidding.
I voted for you, Riddles.
How were the stars on Hocus Pocus when you got there? Because you were at the time were no name, and Sarah Jessica, you know, did they treat you as part of the family? Did you have any bad stories from that?
You know, there were a couple like little intimidating moments with Bet. You know, because I had heard and it was just, you know, through the grapevine. I don't think she was this way when we did Hocus Pocus, but some of these actors are like, don't look them in the eye. Mm-hmm. You know, like
not to mention any names, Joaquin.
Yeah, you don't want to look him anywhere near him sometimes, but but the majority, like Kathy and Sarah, were so sweet and made us feel comfortable, and so did Bet. I had a situation where I always had a camera on me, and we didn't have phones like camera phones.
This was like a real camera.
Yeah, and it was a nice little VHS. It's called a Canon A1 digital. It was a pretty big camera, but I just thought we could just film. So they're doing their scenes, and we're waiting for our stuff up in the cages, but they're doing the stuff on the ground. And I just was like, I'm gonna film what's going on. And
you're shooting your own movie.
I always brought my camera, and I just happened to like be filming, and you see her like catch the eye of the camera, and she's like, Kenny. She calls the director, and he's like, who was that? Why are they here with a camera? And Kenny's like, Larry, sorry, it's one of our actors. Larry, can't do that. And I'm like, ooh. But I have that footage still.
Yeah, you do? You got to put that on YouTube, man. You know.
I know. I have like hours worth of footage from us doing our scenes, behind the scenes.
You should release the Larry Bagby cut, the Focus Pocus. Put it on YouTube, or put it to the theater, enter in some festivals. Who directed that? Kenny
Ortega.
Who we know, who you may know if you're watching this. What else did he direct? Was it Dirty Dancing?
Dirty Dancing, he did the choreography for.
Was
like, he was a choreographer first.
Big time choreographer. And he was doing Michael Jackson's last tour when Michael Jackson died.
Which is why I was able to go to I went to the premiere of that, which was awesome. I got to meet the Jackson 5, and I guess it would have been the Jackson 4 at that point. I don't know how many were left, but
did you have any alone time with Michael when you were a young kid?
Oh, well, Michael as a child, Michael touched me as a child.
He's joking.
That didn't sound right. No, dude, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan, man.
Sure.
I have a hard time with any of that. I kind of just turn my head away because he affected me as an entertainer. Between him, Elvis, and the Beatles, that's why I wanted to play music and dance and whatever. But yeah, Kenny also did he did all the High School Musical stuff, which was huge. And and then he's just got an amazing history in the film business. He did Newsies before Hocus Pocus.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and I love that too. Newsies and that, like all his stuff. I think he didn't really promote any of the stuff he did, and it's kind of interesting because years later he does this big High School Musical, and then Hocus Pocus comes sneaking up, and now they have a musical on Broadway with Newsies, and so Kenny's just a talent. I think he was just ahead of his time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I never met him, but I know you and our friends, the Johnson brothers. Brad works with them in some capacity, and Bart was the principal in High School Musical.
Right.
But,
Coach Bolton.
Yeah, and so then about the time I met you, you had just started working on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is another. Yeah. I mean, you've worked on some iconic projects, and that was a huge hit, a television show. And how did that come about? I'm always, like I said, interested in the audition process.
Yeah. So that was another one of those weird auditions that I got the script, and it said my name because the character was Larry. So I'm like, well, I've got at least that going for me. my name's on the top of my homework, but the name, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's like,
and they made a movie which was a flop.
What does my career come to when you're hearing titles like that? I'm like a step away from just going to USA Network to do some Elvira.
Well, it made it worse because I remember when this came out, because they had a movie, a Buffy movie, which was a complete flop. And then they came out with the TV show, and I was like, they're making a TV show for this horrible movie that nobody went to go see. But it turned out to be quite a hit. And so you went to audition for that with low expectations and then pick it up from there.
Yeah. And it was fun. It was kind of an interesting role. It was just a bully, typical role for me. High school
you're a
bully.
Big guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I look like a jerk, but or a meathead or whatever.
Yeah.
But it worked out, and then I did the episode and I had a great time with it. And then a couple months later they called me back and said, we have this other role. He's also a football player, and we were going to cast somebody else, but we liked what you did. Would you be interested in playing this character, this reoccurring football player, but he happens to be gay? I was like,
So you knew that ahead of time that he was going to be gay? Because he didn't come out initially.
No. Okay. Although it wasn't, I think it was the second episode. So it was the one that they had written for somebody else, but then they were like, we like what he did. Let's see. But Josh was respectful in that he was like, are you okay with playing a gay role? Because of my, religious background, but not only that, just as an actor, you got to be careful with the kind of roles that you portray, because you get stuck in a stereotype and it might affect your work down the line. So there were several things he was thinking about. And I really appreciated the fact that he was even considering me. And I liked the way it was told. It was like, I don't know how comfortable I would be with kissing or another man, right? Well, there was that night with you, Dale, but that was different. You had those boots on, and that just really got me going. No, it was very tastefully done. I thought it was fun, and it was like this guy was just still like a football player, but he happened to be gay. And I'm so gay, I got my grandma fixing me up with guys. That was one of the lines,
Yeah.
So anyway, it turned out to be great. And I think it helped, it was also one of those roles. I only did 6 episodes, but I've been able to do, conventions, and people remember me because of the role. And I think, you know, it was one of the first open gay roles.
Yeah, I was going to ask
TV.
because that scene where you came out was like on TV Guide as one of the most iconic scenes of the year, and it was a very famous scene. What were your feelings about that at the time? Because at the time it was kind of a big deal. Today it's nothing, but at the time, I mean, it was being written about in the media and talked about as some big coming of age moment in television. And how did that affect you? You know, did you struggle with that?
You know, I just took it for what it was, and I got several emails from people, guys and girls, just saying, you know, thank you for being, you know, bold enough to play a role like that, because a lot, you know, people are people, and they are who they are, and nobody should be shamed for that. And so if I could help somebody just through, you know, we feel often as we love what we do, but are we helping anybody being an actor, you know, because it's roles. But yes, I think we do, because we play roles that mean something to people, and whether it's nostalgic, something they think about, you know, like with Hocus Pocus, had several older gentlemen come and say this was the movie that I would watch with my kids, and it means so much, you know, that kind of thing. With Buffy, same thing, being, you really helped me just, you know, feel a little better about my situation, stuff like that. So that to me is a blessing. I think I'm glad I could help in any way in that regards, because we all need love, and we all need to be respected and appreciated, and not ridiculed.
Yeah, well said.
I thought I said that pretty well. Thank you, Dale.
You're trying to stay out of trouble.
Yes, Dad. Yes, Father. I'll be right there, Father.
We you know, I've known you for so long, and so many memories. And some of it, like, I don't know, should I tell this story? Should I not tell? You know, I don't want to bore anybody, and I don't want to be. But I remember when I first got to LA, and we done JAG, we met, we hit it off. I went to your wedding, and I was over at your and Jenny's new apartment, and I had just signed a lease at, I can't think of the name of it, but it was like some stupid expensive. You know, I think I was doing a soap at the time. I was making money, and I was, I forget the name of it, Lastancia maybe. And so I was visiting y'all. And
we had maid there, right?
Yeah. And so I signed a lease with these crazy, because I didn't know LA. I just didn't want to live in the hood, and so I just went to the most expensive. And I remember my apartment that I was going to move into was Brooke Shields' apartment, that she kept there part time. She was doing one of the news radio or one of those shows at the time. And so that's what made me sign a lease. They probably told that to everybody. Hey, moving into Brooke Shields' apartment. So then I went to visit you because it was in the same neighborhood, and you just happened to have the manager of the apartments there preparing something. John Testa, his name.
Yeah.
And
Toby, no. Toby.
Yeah, I had a dog named Toby that he was always calling, and so I just told him.
Thing,
And so he just happened to be there, and I told him I just signed a lease at Lastancia. And at the time, these apartments were like, had a waiting list of like 100 people plus. And because I was friends with y'all, he goes, "Oh, I'll move y'all. I'll put you on the top of the list right now." And so he did put me at the top of the list, and then I'm moving in, canceling my lease at Lastancia and moving in downstairs from you guys, which was a whole other story. And we had the guy, and you and Jenny lived there for a couple of years, so we had a couple of years overlap where we were neighbors.
And then Patrick moved in with you, or with you?
Yeah, Patrick moved in. Our other friend Patrick O'Connor, that you had known previously. Anyway, I was getting to, I'd be getting my mail, and there was this character actor named Nicholas Worth.
Oh,
big husky guy, like Broadway actor.
How's the baby?
and I would be getting my mail, and he would say, you know, "Oh, Dale," you know, he had like this really affected actory Broadway voice. "Oh, Dale, how's Larry and the baby?" I'm like, "I don't think he has a baby." "Yes, he does. He's beautiful. Larry's the most beautiful baby." And would just go on this rant telling me about how beautiful your imaginary baby that didn't exist was. And so, anyway, that was a long way to go to get to that Nicholas Worth story. But he's on now, and we love Nicholas. But
remember, I asked him one time, I'm like, "How much time do you spend on your auditions? Like for a small role, you know, couple lines here and there." He's like, 8 hours a day, Larry. I work and I work and I work. Oh, how's the baby, Larry?
He was so concerned with your baby that never existed. Like,
Yeah,
are you sure you didn't have a baby? Like,
I don't know. Maybe I'm in denial, Dale.
maybe, but oh, God bless Nicholas, man. We had a lot of fun
We've
with
had
him.
a lot of characters that came through. That was the fun part about living close to. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and then our circle of friends, like anybody that you knew or I knew, we all became friends, and
Hmm.
it was just fun because we had a good crew.
We did.
We had a lot of fun. It was nice. And
And
you don't get that in every day where you were like an old friend but a new addition,
yeah,
because you had come in and you just kind of fit right into our
yeah,
little crew. And
yeah,
what a crew.
yeah.
Our
Um,
little entourage.
yeah, that was and this. So I moved in those apartments in like '99, and I lived there for 10 or 12 years, and you moved out. But anyway, um, so let's get to Walk the Line. Um, I remember. Let me pick it up from what I remember. I remember you talking about this part, but there's lots of parts going on. We were lots of auditioning, so I just remember hearing about it. And then you and I went to lunch at your favorite place, Stanley's, I think in Sherman Oaks.
Oh yeah.
We're sitting outside, and it was the first day you were having rehearsal because you had to learn. I think you never had played the stand-up bass, and you had to learn for the movie. And so you were going, and we're rehearsing at Joaquin Phoenix's house, and it was your
Yeah.
first day, and we're having lunch, and you were super nervous. May have had a cocktail or two. And so, do you remember that day? And what was that like?
What was this though? Because I do remember the night before I left, we went to Casa Vega, and either was it the night before that I flew out to Memphis, or was it the night before my audition for the movie? It was one of those. But I just remember we had a few too many tequilas because Juan was at the bar, and
Yeah,
I don't like to talk about especially in the public and the internet. Everybody does their thing, and I back then I think I was doing doing a little more than I should have as far as substance abuse, but I just remember we had a few and we were a few in, and I was feeling good, but then I went past the feeling good, and I'm like, okay, I'm drunk. How do I get out of
yeah,
this deal?
yeah. I remember that now.
Yeah,
You're
I think I had to
speaking.
wake up in the morning and fly. That's what it was. And it was a long flight, especially after a long night. We had a great time, but I was like, oh no, it's gonna be
Yeah.
rough tomorrow.
Well, let me interject there. When you say substance abuse, Larry and I have never done any drugs, so he's talking of pure booze because you weren't even really a drinker. You'd grown up Mormon,
No,
and so
yeah,
you had uh, some drinks,
it
and
didn't
for
take
the
much,
first 5 years I knew you didn't even drink at all, nothing. Like
right?
you didn't drink it, and then you were inexperienced, and you had a couple tequila shots, and then you're like, how do I get out of this? I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, go home and go to bed, man. You're not getting out of
yeah. Is there a reverse drink?
So, and I mean, the Walk the Line days was really, I mean, you were kind enough to include me in a lot of those experiences, because I went to Memphis with, after you were shooting for, a week and a half or so and stayed there, while you were shooting, which was, and we'll come to those. And I mean, that was a great time. And, but go back to the audition process. So, did you know it was going to be a big movie like the T-Bone Burnett, who is a legend, who does a lot of the current country music? That it had Joaquin and Reese Witherspoon, and was that big of a movie? Were you aware of that at the time?
I didn't know what I'd gone in for. Really, I knew that I got a call from my agent, and at the time it was Coast to Coast. They were great, and I kind of am sorry that I ever left them because they worked really hard for me. But I got a call, and they were like, "Can you play music?" I'm like, "Of course I can." Is that I didn't make that clear early on. And they said, I don't know, but can you play guitar or whatever? I'm like, yeah. They said, okay, well, you have this audition for this Johnny Cash movie. I wasn't a big Johnny Cash fan growing up, so I knew of him, but I didn't really know much about him. Uh, and they just said, yeah, they want you to audition musically first, and then if you pass that audition, you'll come back and you'll do the acting portion, because they were looking for real musicians or somebody that captivated that feeling of a young upcoming musician or whatever it be. And then they did the acting portion. So I went in there, but I didn't know who I was auditioning for. I didn't know who T-Bone Burnett was at the time. I just went in and I was excited because they were like, prepare a Johnny Cash song and then an Elvis song or whatever. And I was like, cool, Elvis. I could do Elvis. And then I remember Dustin got frustrated because he didn't like that song Ring of Fire for whatever reason. And I had to memorize it, but I couldn't remember all the words. So I wrote them on my hand. So during the audition, I wouldn't forget. So I did the audition. I felt really good about the Elvis, the Johnny Cash, so. And then it took a few weeks to hear back. So I didn't think anything of it. But then I heard back and they said, we'd like you to come in and read for the role of Carl Perkins, which was a smaller role.
Yeah.
So I went in and I read, but then during the audition, the director said, wait a minute, I want you to read this. This is Marshall Grant. He's the bass player. And I did just a few of the scenes. I think one of them was me saying, Johnny, it's time to go home. I got a ticket, the tour. Yeah, the tour's been canceled. And it was just, I was not prepared. And I remember going in there just kind of like, I blew it off a little, but I think that kind of was to my benefit because I was so relaxed and I just was and I think I was probably even hungover a little that day. And I was just kind of like, I just want to get this over with. But when it's your role, and that was one of those, I can't imagine not playing that role in my career. It was one of those, like Hocus Pocus, just these certain points where you go, that's right. Even if I failed in the audition, most likely I would have gotten the part because that's part of it, right? It's the essence. And it took a few weeks, and I heard back, and they said we'd like to offer you the role of Marshall Grant, the bass. Can you play bass? And I said yes.
But an actor always says yes. I mean, I've got myself into my own, Yeah.
Can you ride a horse? You bet. And then
you bet.
Like, what's that thing do? Why is that horse looking at me?
That got me in trouble in the movie Bridesmaids.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Can you weld? Of course I can. They actually wanted me to weld. Didn't work out for Dale. Anyway, back to Larry.
So yeah, but I could play a little bit of bass because I could play guitar, but not like great. But then I find out it's the upright bass. I'm like, oh. So I call the guy at McCabe's, this kind of old school guitar shop in Santa Monica, and I found this guy Denny Croy, and he started teaching me, and I'm like, okay, I might be able to figure this out. And then we started rehearsing at Joaquin's and T-Bone Burnett's as well.
And this was at Joaquin's house, right?
Yeah, we were at Joaquin's house.
And what was it like walking into Joaquin Phoenix's house?
Do you remember I told you there was Johnny Cash magazines, books, CDs, records all over the place. Like everywhere you stepped or looked, like this guy was doing his research, and so that was the first impression. And then he had the music playing in the background, but his house was beautiful. It was like one of these houses that, you imagine like the Hollywood Hills with the big pool and the view, like huge, just a big old open space with nice big open, view.
Yeah.
And it was nice.
And how was he when he first? I know because we have a lot of Joaquin stories from later on, but how was he the first time you met him? Like you're in his house. That had to be a little awkward because normally you don't rehearse at somebody's house, and so you're walking into Joaquin Phoenix's house. And was he accommodating? Yeah. Was he cordial? Because he can go either way sometimes.
Yeah, he was nice. I just couldn't. I kind of couldn't get past the fact that I was working with this guy, you know, like that was another reality that kicked in. I'm like, because I admired his work, and I knew, you know, he's such a chameleon, and he's a real actor, you know, and so it was an honor just to be there. But like, he's got these intense, you know, for the movie they put contacts in his eyes, got these intense blue eyes, and it's like, you know, you're trying to have this conversation about party, you're like, oh my god, that's Joaquin Phoenix, you know.
Oh.
And you know, you kind of with time you get over it somewhat, but there's still a little bit of the fame factor and what this guy's, you know, River Phoenix and the history of their family. But he was a bit introvert. He didn't make you feel super comfortable, but that's something like I can deal with people like that. I'm usually the one that tries to break the ice and keep it smooth, and I know how to kind of keep a conversation going when it's not going. And he was respectful of me. I think he thought I was funny and cool. But there were times where, you know, day to day it would vary, and sometimes I think he was just really into his role. So I'd call him Joaquin and he'd be like, call me Johnny, you know, like, all right, Johnny.
So he wanted you to call him Johnny.
A couple of times. Yeah, a couple of times.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because you were playing a real person, Marshall Grant, which was in real life Johnny Cash's best friend and stand-up bass player in the Tennessee Three. So you were playing a person. Did you meet him? I think he's passed away now, but did you meet him before playing him? You did.
I did not, you know, that's a good question. I met him once before we finished filming, but I didn't really get to meet him or get to know him until after. And he was still alive for a while, and it's actually a pretty amazing story. I had an opportunity to, when we came back, to do like some press for the international stuff in Memphis. There was a bunch of press from, you know, all over the world, and he came to our hotel at Peabody and sat in the lobby, and my parents were there too, and just told us amazing stories. And he had already seen the movie, and he said, Larry, you did a really nice job portraying me, and I'm real proud of that, and you should be too. That's the best compliment in the world.
And there was because he didn't drink in real life, and it was important that you not drink in the film, and which is difficult because you guys were drinking all the time. Not you, but Johnny, you know, Joaquin is Johnny, and the other guy, and it was partying all the time. So
yeah. And Marshall he was just sober, and he was also the guy that had to keep it together. He was kind of the manager. Him and June kind of kept it together on the road, and he also drove their tour bus. So somebody had to be up and at him, you know, while everybody else hung over and come wandering into the bus all hammered, you know.
And he was a bomb maker, because that was a real scene where you make a bomb and blow up a tree. You and Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, and like you make a bomb and put it in the tree. I was actually there when y'all done. That was one of my first nights there. When y'all shot
that was a long
scene.
Yeah, we did overnights, remember? It was like all night. And all the mosquitoes in that bus, every time they cleared it out, they'd spray. It was in Arkansas, Dias, I think.
Because I had just landed, and you're in North Arkansas, I think, and
that's right.
you had them send a car to pick me up at the airport, and they brought me to the set, and so I just got there, and there's you as Marshall blowing up a tree, and so anyway,
that was fun. So yeah, Marshall for fun, you know, everybody has to have their thing. He used to like to build bombs, just blow things up like fireworks, you know, like one of the world's first terrorists, apparently.
Yeah.
But I guess everybody had their thing, but that was his. And all, you know, most of those stories are pretty accurate, you know, as far as one thing he did share with me that was not really in the movie, but I guess it you know, in between the lines, you could sense this, but he said that he remembers the first day Johnny Cash came into that gas station that he worked at, and it was Johnny's cousin, I think. And Luther was working there as well, but Johnny's cousin introduced them, and he said, "All I know, Larry," he said, "Larry, all I know is that day when Johnny Cash came in, I knew nothing about him, but the hair on the back of my neck just stood up. I thought this guy's somebody or something. Whether it was the devil or God, I don't know. He said, but I knew that I would be working with that man and he would be somebody, you know, which is
Wow.
pretty cool.
That
Yeah.
that is cool.
And then just to wrap up that, the whole full circle on that was I got invited several years later by Johnny Cash's niece, one of his nieces, to go to this fundraiser they were doing in Dyess, Arkansas at the university to raise money for Johnny Cash's first house and just for funds for to keep historic monuments alive and things. And Marshall showed up at the show. It was like Chris Christopherson, George Jones, like all these great, like Marty Robbins and all these guys just came together to help raise money. It was an amazing concert, but we were all staying at the same hotel and Marshall shows up. So I got to we were there in the lobby and we spent all night with Roseanne Cash, she was married to Rob Crowley anyway, another folk singer, Steve Earle, these type of guys. And Marshall was there and he showed us pictures and it was amazing. But you could tell he was kind of sick. He looked kind of sickly. I took a picture with him and then he got kind of dizzy and said, I need to go up to my room. Turns out that he didn't take his medication. He was diabetic and he went into a coma that night. He died 3 days later.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I went and I stayed a few more days and went to the intensive care and held his hand. I could tell he wasn't there, but he was present, you know. And then he passed away on the plane back home. He hadn't yet passed, but there was lightning that struck or something. And I thought he just passed, like something told me, and he had. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, I got to portray this role, but also get to know the man and be there at his dying side, you know. That was pretty special.
That's very, very serendipitous, you know, that you were there and it happened like that. Thanks for sharing that. I don't think you've ever told me that before. So what was it like because when I got there, you had already laid out the red carpet for me, basically. I'll get back to that. But when the first time you met Reese Witherspoon, because you had some scenes with her, let's talk about Reese. Because I have my own fond memories of her.
Yeah. So my first experience with her was at T-Bone Burnett's house. So we were there rehearsing, trying to like get this whole thing together. And there was a knock on the door. And I went to answer it and it's like, I couldn't really see. And then I opened the door, it's Reese Witherspoon. And she's like, hi, I'm Reese Witherspoon. I'm like, I know who you are. And she's like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. She was so sweet, gave me a hug. And then she came in and we were rehearsing and then they started rehearsing. And then we took a little break and we were just sitting in the kitchen just talking. And I was like, oh, she's so beautiful. Like, and she's just a little firecracker, man. And it was just surreal. So that was the first time we actually met at T-Bone's. And then when I first got to Memphis, I get there and I get a call on my cell phone. It's walking, where are you? You know, and I'm like, I'm at my hotel. Okay, I'm gonna pick you up in 10 minutes. We're gonna go get some food. And so he comes and he's got like some Cherokee Jeep. I don't know.
Got some what?
Just a Jeep Cherokee or something.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy. But he picks me up and then he's like, make sure you pick up your phone when anybody calls. And I pick it up and it's, hi, this is Reese Witherspoon. Oh my God. You're like, where are y'all at? And he's like, we're just going to get some food. We'll come over to my hotel. Come, we'll grab something. So then we go over to her hotel and we were gonna maybe go somewhere, but she's like, everybody knows me in this town. Let's just stay in my hotel and we'll have some drinks or food. So we were just sitting there, just me and Joaquin and Reese. And I'm just like, this is unbelievable. I was like doing impersonations, like Michael J. Fox and Robert De Niro.
It was a Larry Bagby show.
I was doing magic tricks. Of course,
oh no!
Oh yeah.
I've warned you not to do the magic tricks.
Well, it really worked that night. So they were getting a kick out of it, but they were, they were laughing at me, and then it was weird, and I may, this is probably just my little young fantasy mind, but like Reese is like, y'all want to come upstairs and like have a drink or to her like room? I'm like, yeah, and Lucky's like, we gotta go. And I'm like,
And so, that's how Joaquin talks. Like he mumbles, and sometimes he can be difficult to understand, but he kind of talks
yeah,
out the side of his mouth. So that's our
yeah.
Joaquin impersonation.
I think when he doesn't have to act or be a character, he's comfortable, just kind of, But anyway, I thought to myself, oh man, like, I don't know, there was feeling a little chemistry, but it might have just been my head. But then there were a couple things that happened, and again, this is probably just my mind, my fantasy mind. She was going through a tough time with her husband at the time, Ryan Felipe, and he was going out. I remember.
He was there at this party we'll get to.
Yeah,
I remember I almost got in a fight with him
at the diner.
No.
Or whatever.
No. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because this is amazing. Tyler Hilton, who played Elvis, he turned 21, and Joaquin rented a bar, and we had his 21st birthday party there. And it
Do you
was
remember who
party.
else was there?
Cameron Crowe,
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, because I saw him at the after party when I met Claire and Glenda and all them. But anyway, I don't want to make it too much about me, but you really hooked me up on that whole trip. I just say
we
that.
had so much fun. It was so good to have like you guys there to kind of witness the craziness.
When I got there, I don't know how long you've been shooting, but y'all were shooting the last scene, I think, at the Orpheum in Memphis.
Oh, that's right.
And Reese was singing, and you had told her, my friend Dale's coming. He's from Texas. He has 2 daughters, and she had a couple. And so she was waving at me from this, and I'm like, because I was sitting like in the front row, and there was nobody else there, and she's waving to me, and then she calls me up there, and she was just like you said, so nice and captivating. And I've told people later, after everybody I've ever met, any celebrities, the only one that didn't disappoint me meeting them in person was Reese, because she was just eye contact, and she was so sweet, and
very, very personable,
and she had, and I've told you this story before. I don't mind telling it publicly, but we were backstage during like a lunch break, and you had introduced me to the director, Jim somebody, who was also very nice. And I was Jim Mangold, yeah. And I was just, me and Reese were talking, and Joaquin came through, and you'd invited, and we were going out later that night. So he walks by and he mumbles something. He called me Riddles because you did, which is another story. So he's like, Riddles. And so he kept walking, and Reese looked at me and she said, he is so gross. Did you smell? He smells like cigarettes. He's disgusting. And he'd walked out one of those push doors, and I hear the door open. He comes back in, and he's like, this is my set. If you're going to talk about me, not to say to my face. And so he like said, if you're going to say something bad, this is my set, my movie, say it to my face. And so she did. She says, see what I mean? He's so gross. Look at him. He smells. And this was at the beginning, and I know they got along after that. But it was very rough at the beginning. She did not like him. And because he was Johnny Cash. He was drunk all the time while they were shooting. And I'm just saying that from my perspective. You didn't say that. I was there. I saw it.
Was that the night where he was wearing that yellow shirt to kind of get it grimed up for that scene where he's been out all night long and he like falls in the bushes? But it's like a yellow tuxedo.
I don't remember what he was wearing, but
because I remember that night he threw a bottle at somebody on the stage or something. Like, I don't know if it was me, because I got up and played a song or two, I think.
Yes, you were singing a Johnny Cash song, and he threw a bottle at you.
Like something crazy. That night he went out to the Blue Monkey, I think, and he's like, he wanted to drive, and I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that. He's like, you fat face. He like called me fat face.
No, I rode with him.
You're a fat face. I'm like,
I rode with
you
him.
mumble.
I rode with him that night to that party, and he was going 100 miles an hour through this neighborhood. He was hammered drunk, which I didn't know until after I got in the car. And I just kept thinking, we're going to crash, we're going to die, and it's going to be Joaquin Phoenix killed, and then this other dude, you know, that I'm just going to be like a footnote. But he rented this bar for Tyler Hilton, who was, you know, a great guy. He just turned 21. He played Elvis Presley in the movie.
Tyler was awesome, man.
Tyler's awesome. And so he rented out this bar. So it was all cast people, and it was a huge, like at the time, by far the most Hollywood party I've ever been to. This was in Memphis, and they were also shooting another movie nearby that Cameron Crowe, who wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High and directed, you know, a bunch of movies.
It was it Hustler? The something about Hustle and Flow.
Was it Hustle and Flow? And I don't know the name, but Orlando Bloom was in it. And because we went to, they came to this party, Joaquin's party, and then afterwards there was another after party, and I had met Claire Grant, who's now married to Seth. What's his name? Seth Green.
Seth Green, right?
Seth Green.
And that's how. Remember, she was a fan of when I first met her when we were shooting the scene where she's the girl that in the front with the high school. She was in the movie. She had told me that she was a huge fan of Buffy. Yeah. So she knew me from Buffy, and she obviously had a you know, a crush on or whatever, however that happened. But I thought that was cool because I've worked with Seth, you know, 3 times.
Yeah.
In my career, different times.
And we kept in touch. I mean, Claire, I was friends with her. I mean, she was, when I had my surgery, you know, she was spent the night at the hospital. You know, we were very close. And then when she married, you know, he put the kibosh on that, which of course he would. But yeah, we met her there, and she moved to LA. And another story that I want to get to, and I want to come back to the Walk the Line because we really haven't even scratched the surface of the Walk the Line stories. Where I almost got in a fight with Reese's husband, Ryan Felipe, at that party. But this other, where I want to jump ahead, and you may get mad at me for telling the story, but it was innocent the way it happened. And Claire had a party. This was back in Los Angeles, and
was that brownie night?
Yeah. Larry, you know, if he has a couple
Slow
of drinks,
down.
we call him, hold on, don't we call him garbage gut because he was always eating like 2 a.m. I've had a lot of 2 a.m. meals at IHOP because of Larry. But so there's these brownies there, and Claire, she's a known pot smoker, you know, and me and Larry are not. We're just eating brownies. Larry ate probably 4 to my 2, and so Larry was they were pot brownies, and we didn't know at the time.
Know. Nobody.
And
knew.
Larry was high as a kite from those brownies, and I remember we were driving home. We were going on the freeway, the 101, and I'm like, Larry, man, slow down, because neither one of us were smoked pot. We didn't know what we were doing. We just ate these brownies.
Yeah. Well, and that like the edible stuff is like is a different.
It was
it's crazy.
Strong.
It's not a head. It's like everything just starts. There must have been something else laced in that. I don't know, but it was crazy.
And we were driving home, and I'm like, Larry, slow down, man. You're gonna get a ticket or a wreck. You know, we're going way too fast. And you look at the speedometer, and you're like, I'm going 25 miles
on the freeway.
It was 2 a.m. Yeah, that was hilarious.
And then remember we were texting because you stayed on the couch that night.
Yeah,
I was in my room, and I just said I still haven't. I'm floating, like I am hovering, something like that.
I texted you and I said, let's go get some breakfast. And you in the text back, I'm like, I can't. Too much magic brownie. Too much magic brownie. You said,
dude, I floated. I was just floating, dude. I was just like up in the air. It was weird.
But anyway, that just happened, and that was Claire may watch this. I don't know, but we love Claire, and I miss her. And we met her. She was in Walk the Line, and we were great friends for many years after that. But this party that Joaquin threw, that somehow ended up riding with him, and you know, when he was hammered, and Cameron Crowe, Orlando Bloom were there, plus everyone in Walk the Line, and it was so packed. I was sitting at a booth, and somebody sat on my knee, and I was facing this way, and it was Reese's. She called her sister, but it may have been her best friend.
Oh yeah,
She sat. It was
April.
April. She was sitting on my lap, and I didn't
She
even know
was
who she
hot.
was. Yeah, so I didn't tell her to get up, but she was sitting on
Yeah,
my knee, and Ryan's friend, her was dating
was her
her,
boyfriend,
and
right?
so he thought I was hitting on her, and so he told Reese, because Reese never drinks, and she was hammered that night too. She puked, and she she said Ryan wants to fight you, and I'm like, are you sure? Because he's a little guy, you know. I don't think he wants to fight me, Reese. So you better go double check. And but that was the whole thing. I didn't even know
That's so
her.
funny. I think I remember her saying something to me too, because April was real, like she was very flirtatious, and she was there, her assistant, right, so to speak. I think she was helping Reese, but she loved to go out like by herself. And a few times I'd gone out and I ran into her. And I remember one time when Ryan was there as well, and he was very protective. And Reese said, "Sorry if he's acting weird. Just April's boyfriend is his like best friend, and he's obviously he wasn't there, and clearly she had another agenda. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
But that's so funny. I remember that. Yeah, and I remember so with Reese. Another thing I remember that like floored me was I heard in like an interview while we were shooting or like close around that she was struggling, you know, while working on the film because of Ryan and the kids, and he was going out all the time while she was staying home with the kids. But she also said, but I still had a good time. There was a couple of really nice guys, like Southern gentlemen that I kind of had a little crush on or something like that in this article. And I was like, I wonder if that was me. Could have been you. I'm gonna think it's me. You can think it's you.
yeah.
But then to top it, this was the best. That we did the event later where all the celebrities got together and sang Johnny Cash tunes, and Joaquin and Reese hosted. It was like a TV special for Johnny Cash before around the time the movie came out. And while we were sitting there in the audience, you know, they had a little time in between. They're going, all right, we're going to roll back and reshoot this part. And Reese just goes, "Hi, Larry Bagby," and
Yeah.
just like pointed me out. Do you remember that?
I
And
remember you telling me about it. I
oh
wasn't
my
there,
gosh,
but I
I
remember.
was like, there's a lot of celebrity here, and she just like pointed me out, and she probably knew that I thought she was the bee's knees, but like it was like I was like so
Well, she
like
probably didn't
kind
hear you say bee's knees. So
of anyway, that was my little like fantasy story, and you know, she was like you said, so sweet and personable. And
very, very sweet.
another thing, do you remember the story about me that night we were shooting the bomb scene that you were there? You came in the car, the uncomfortable moment I had where Joaquin, we're sitting there and nobody's talking and it's late, and it's like they had a weird kind of not comfortable, like their chemistry on film was way better than
Yeah.
in person.
Well,
And
let's just say it. Like based on what, she hated him. You know, up until towards the end, she hated him. So
I think I even remember like after the movie came out, I think Joaquin said, "Oh yeah, she came up and she was like, you really should watch your work. I make you look good," or something like that. And he's like, you know, they kind of had that animosity, I think, but it worked. Whatever it was,
yeah,
maybe it was some weird attraction too, that
yeah,
they're like the good and the bad. You know, the good girl with the bad ass guy. You know,
yeah,
smells, smokes, and rides
yeah.
motorcycles. But that night we were just sitting in the car, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do some impersonations, because that seemed to work the first night with Joaquin Reese. But there'd been some time. It was late. We were tired. And so I'm like, okay, who am I doing? So I did Robert De Niro from Awakening. So I was like, they're never gonna let me out of here, and they shouldn't. And Joaquin goes, Robert De Niro is a horrible actor. And that's not true. That's not what he really thinks, because we know with the Joker, he came out and said the
Yeah.
movie that changed his life, that River brought back was Bull. What's it called? The boxing movie, Robert De Niro.
Oh,
Bull.
Raging Bull.
Yeah, that was a movie that kind of changed Joaquin's outlook. He's like, I get it. Like the way Robert De Niro was so real. So I did this impersonation, and Joaquin's like, yeah, Robert De Niro's an awful actor. And Reese goes, oh, you think so? What do you think? You think people might be saying that about you too, Joaquin? Gosh, I'm like, never mind, no more impersonations. I was like, it just shut everybody down. Nobody was talking. I'm like, this sucks.
Well, you had told me, and which you already knew, don't say anything to Joaquin about his work. Don't say, which was normal anyway, but for sure to him, don't reference you've seen anything. And so I
Yeah,
didn't.
he's
And,
so funny about that. Yeah.
and we went, we had spent a lot of time at his house. You and him were working on music, and
You were making out with Perry Moore on the couch. Yeah, we're like, he's like, play this song, play this. You wanted me to play keyboards, and you're over there on the couch making out with Jim Mangle's assistant, right? Paramore what was her name? Perry?
No, that didn't happen.
I
remember Joaquin
seeing your head and not hers. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I remember Joaquin giving me a hard time about that. He was, Reynolds, what are you doing on my couch? But so he had this weight equipment that they had ordered for him that was in his flat, but he was too embarrassed to have them put it together for him. So it was just all over the floor because he couldn't put it together.
He was kind of like, he always had a nice place, but everything was really scattered about. And like he had post-it notes everywhere.
Yeah.
For reminders for stuff,
Yeah, and he was, he would look. He was so, and again, I only knew him through you, so I only had access because you had done the movie. But he would like, can I make you a sandwich, like that, nice. And then when I was leaving, after having spent all this time with him, stayed at his house, that I said, hey, Joaquin, I was about to go catch my cab and go to the airport. From what I've seen, you've done really, great work. Everything looks amazing. And he had the reaction if I just said, Joaquin, both your parents have been killed. Like he grabbed his head and started screaming, dropped to his knees, like at the top of his lungs, screaming, you jinxed me, you jinxed me.
Oh my gosh. So dramatic.
So dramatic.
He did that with Dustin in the plane, on our way to, remember the New York visit that we had? Dustin got there that day, and
your
Joaquin
brother Dustin
was like, yeah. Joaquin's like, you're going with me and your brother and Jennifer Gibbon. We're going to New York. And I said, I don't have any of my clothes. And Dustin dropped off his stuff. You can buy clothes when you get there. We like left from set, drove to the airport, got in Michael Eisner's plane and got on the plane. And then Joaquin freaked out because he doesn't like to fly.
Oh.
And Dustin and him had gone into the bathroom to like smoke, which they weren't supposed to do. And then Joaquin was like, we're all going down. This plane is going to crash and burn. And Dustin's like, he's a really good actor. And I was really scared, So he was a bit, I don't know if he just likes to mess with people or if he has those moments.
Well, that was a different trip to New York. Didn't y'all go do the Conan show? Wasn't he doing Conan O'Brien's show?
Yeah, he did press that. That was on the way out. Was that during? So there were two trips we took.
Yeah, no, that was completely different.
That was the New York trip that you.
Yeah, we went back to New York because they had the premiere.
In
New York because they had the Country Music Awards the next night or the same night.
Which we snuck
so
into.
We went to the premiere, which was amazing, and then the Country Music Awards, we inexplicably were able to sneak in backstage.
We went through the back. We went through the back of the.
In Madison Square Garden, we snuck in the back way. It was me. We dressed up like we were country music stars and had the scarves and the hats, and we told them we were performing, and they just let us in. And we walk in the back, and there's Brad Paisley and everybody doing the hair and makeup, and I don't know how they let us do that. No, I know what it was. After we got through some of the security, Joan Rivers' daughter recognized because she'd met her, and so she goes, "Oh, hi, Larry," and so that was how we were able to get in. Yeah, that was Madison Square Garden.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, Devon.
Yeah.
And Dustin and Christian.
Yeah, me, Devon, and Dustin. Yeah. And then we went after the premiere. We were in a car, and we were looking for somewhere we couldn't find it. So they let us off. We walked in this corner bar, and they were having the Country Music Awards after party there. Like
Oh,
George Strait is there, Kenny
George Strait
Chesney,
and Pat Green.
Pat Green, which I'm like, it was a big star in Texas at the time. I'm like, and I knew him through John Evans, and so I said,
Yeah.
Larry, why don't you come meet Pat Green? And you're like, no, I don't want to go meet anybody.
And
I'm
then
like,
I
dude,
opened for him. Remember later?
yeah. I'm like, no, you should come meet Pat Green, and you're like, I don't want to meet anybody. I'm not.
I'm too big for these guys.
Yeah, I just started a movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I'm not meeting Texas country people tonight.
Yeah, but who's the bartender? She's pretty hot.
Oh, yeah, that was like a Coyote Ugly place.
Oh, that's right.
And that was where I met, remember I met this girl, I'm not gonna say her name, but I ended up talking to her the whole night.
Oh, I know. Brady Bunch.
Yeah. And I'm like, how about that girl? We're in the cab going home. I'm like, how about that girl I was talking to?
Pug dog.
And you're like, yeah, you're like, I'm not saying she looked like Cindy Brady, but when she started hanging upside down to try to get taller, that was a little weird. And you said, and this is we're dating ourselves with the Brady Bunch. You said, I'm not saying she looked like Cindy Brady, but when Tiger the dog stole her shoe and ran off with it. Anyway, y'all gave me a hard time, but that was so much fun. Well, they had their premiere in New York, and we were there. What was that like? Like doing the red carpet in Madison Square Garden? Like how amazing was that for a small kid from Thousand Oaks, California?
Oh man, that was really cool. It was pretty cool to even just have all the press and do interviews. It's like we had all kinds of cool, and the stories come up just like you and I, because we've known each other for so long. There's always something kind of new that you hadn't thought about, in a while when you start doing little interviews,
Yeah.
So some stuff, like some fun stuff came up because it was so fresh at the time. But then even looking back at have you ever gone on like our, Getty Images and to see pictures of all of us? There's actually a really cool video. I think I sent it to you, but remind me, it's me, you, and Uncle Rick. And and it was somebody taking video instead of just pictures on that carpet or whatever. There was like, you guys were like behind me, like we were all walking, and it's a pretty cool little video clip of the red carpet with us all kind of walking. Yeah. And I'll have to find it. I think it's on Getty Images. If you just put in your name or my name and walk the line, Getty Images. But looking back, even if you want to see who was there, I couldn't believe all the stars that came. Glenn Campbell was there.
Yeah.
I later got to open up for him, but he was on the black. It was a black carpet, right?
And you gave him your shirt.
That was
you gave him the shirt off your back
when I played with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was at the Walk the Line premiere. I didn't realize that.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of people. I mean, Jane Seymour, because her husband was a producer on it.
That's right. She was great.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, and we met so many good friends that we stayed in contact with over the years. I mean, that was
some of the New York parties that, like, even just us going out. What a fun time!
Because
were you there that night where Sam was there and he wanted to dance or something with Joaquin? Joaquin got funny or something. I think Sam was trying to ask him a couple questions, and Joaquin just kind of shut him down or something.
Yeah, because he didn't know Sam. Like, yeah, I just got lucky because I had been there and you had told him.
You hung out at his house.
Yeah.
you stayed there. I think I wasn't even there. I left. You're like, we're just gonna. Where's your bath? You got a bathtub?
That was quite a time. And we haven't talked about. I mean, not much to tell, but Jennifer Goodwin. We stayed in contact with her afterwards too.
I was in love with her too.
Yeah, she would play June Carter Cash or June Cash.
No, she played Vivian.
Vivian, his first wife.
Yeah.
She was great. I was at dinner with her randomly, her and Joaquin, the night that she booked that show, the Mormon Show on HBO.
Oh, Big Love.
Big Love, yeah. Where she.
Yeah, that was kind of weird because she kind of wanted to hang out with us, not just me, but like Adam and Brad, because we were Mormon or grew up Mormon.
Oh.
And I realized she was just doing like research,
Yeah.
because she was asking all kinds of questions. Oh, that's fine, but
Um, well, I want to start wrapping it up, man. We've been talking. We could talk another 2 hours, but I remember.
I know we can do that on a road trip. Remember,
I know.
we're like a couple old grannies. You can just turn this into a web series.
Yeah, Larry Bagby Part 1 and 2. I remember during this time you had probably a 3 or 4 year period between Buffy and Walk the Line where you were, I would say, the most successful commercial actor probably in the world. Like you had so many national commercials airing, and I remember being at your house and you just had a stack of checks on your kitchen table, and I think you had a personal assistant at the time. That's how well you were doing, and she was just or somebody was cleaning the maid or somebody, and she just stacked these checks. And I'm like, Larry, what are these checks is doing here? They're like, I don't know. And there was like 40 grand of checks, uncashed checks, just sitting on your table from all these commercials. And I'm like, let's go put those in the bank.
I had a good run there. It's not that way anymore with the way the internet and commercials just don't pay that well. But I think it was the year that I did the Honda spots, and that was a miracle because I did one. We shot for a couple of nights, and it was like an improv kind of thing. I was sitting around a campfire, and it was a good group of people, like good improv actors. We had a lot of fun, but they turned those spots, like from what we thought was one, into there were like 8 spots they made out of those. So one of those first checks I got from Honda, I think that was the one around $40,000 or $50,000, and I don't say that to my own horn.
Commercials paid a lot of money,
Man, and they, because they had split them up and they were airing nationally, it's like all of a sudden you've done 8 commercials basically, and Honda, which pays great. And it was just like I'd never seen. I mean, even with movies and things that I've done, that was one of the larger checks I got in one lump sum. When like a cycle, which was 3 or 4 months. I'm just like, well, is this right? Like, they missed the dot, But yeah, it was a fruitful time for sure. And I kind of hit that middle age, a little bit
young dad.
Yeah, just middle America kind of guy thing, and that was just lucrative.
Yeah,
but not as challenging or as fun as working on a movie or a TV show where you get to develop a character and that type of stuff. Even theater is fun.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to wrap this up, man. This is probably our longest one. We didn't even get to like our comedy, stand-up comedy. You got me doing stand-up, which turned into a whole nother career for me after the fact, and I never thought I would even do stand-up comedy. So, you made that happen for me. And we didn't talk about.
We didn't talk about the health or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't talk about.
Well, let's do another one. We'll see how people like what we did, and then we'll get a little deeper and we'll cover those.
Yeah, because we both had health issues, and you've had heart issues, and I want to talk about. We didn't talk about Immaculate Misconception, the movie we did together that you and I starred in. It's the 2 main guys.
That was so fun.
And we did talk about your Halloween parties, which is a whole, whole. If you've never been to a Larry Bagby Halloween party, it's something.
I think what did we coined it? The Pea Palace. I don't remember what that was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But no, so much that we didn't even get to. But I got to run, and I know you do too. But thanks so much.
Oh, you're gonna run? I just prefer to walk.
Okay, it's time to go. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Of course, man. I love you, Riddles. I always. I love getting to be able to hang out with you. We always have fun, and you're always so positive. Dale, you're one of those guys that you always remind me, it's people like you that remind me and help me feel good in times, especially when things have been slow or we forget who we are or what we've accomplished. You're always like, man, you're Larry Bagby, dude. You're Larry Bagby. And you always build me up that way. So I appreciate it because I think you're a phenomenal guy and you're a phenomenal talent as well. And you got a gift with people for sure.
Well, I appreciate all that, man, and I appreciate you and your friendship. We've had a long. We didn't talk about Cabo trips either.
I'm sorry, Dale. I was talking to somebody else. What were you saying?
Still doing the same comedy bits.
They
Let me
don't
retract
change.
everything.
I
I
just
know.
kind of like
Get some new
reconfigure
material.
them. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
we
I'll
didn't
work on
talk
it.
about any of that. So we have a lot more to cover. But thanks for your insight on Walk the Line and Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus and Buffy and all those. So please like and share this interview. And I have all the interviews I've done. You can find them on YouTube if you don't get to see them on Facebook. So thank you very much for tuning in. Go to firstcleansolutions.com and buy some Germstar. And I will see you in a week or so with my next interview. See you, Larry. Take care, everybody.
Peace out.